Hello and welcome to the show here in OurGame. Myself and going to bring in the main man himself, Michael Verney. Michael, how's things?
Good. You can't help but not be in good form when you hear that music. It just it sets me off. You're kind of getting ready for the show to start. It's in. It's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, I keep listening to that all day. We get a bit more of it later on. Big weekend coming here. We have a packed show for you, as we always like to do. We're going to have Oisin McConville talking all sorts of football. His coaching principles, very interesting stuff where he talks about where sometimes when you're coaching, it can feel like when you hit a great shot on a golf course. I'm not going to tee up any more of it than that, but really, really good stuff with him. We're going to talk all about that. First off, Michael Verney, you were on the road. You were, I believe you were doing a bit of mountain at St. Mel's School in Longford. We actually got a picture in here. Look at this.
Oh, yeah. What's it say in the window? We put the pride on the... Yeah, very good. Yeah,
we put the brick on the accelerator. As a man who loved Father Ted, I had a feeling you'd enjoy that.
There was other... I got another Father Ted related message through to me about that. It was... yeah, I won't go into that, but people only love the opportunity to... take the mickey out of you whenever they get a chance. But it was great to head in there. Obviously, football nursery of the highest order, and was just chatting through career changes and different things. And it's gas when people, when you're the one always asking the questions. It's interesting when people throw questions at you, I always think. But great experience, an absolute. Sure, it's a football nursery of the highest order.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the full show is going to be available on patreon.com/OurGame. We're going to put the first 15 minutes out free to air. But get any sort of comments in there. Let us know your thoughts, what's important to you heading into this massive GA weekend. You wanted to talk about biggest, basically retirements. We've seen Ash Barty, tennis star, retire at age 26. What retired players should have had more appearances for your county? Let us know. I mean, I look at someone who was probably 29-ish when he had to retire, Pat Kerwick, and I think he was just about to hit serious form heading into 2010. Then I think it was a groin injury, maybe hip injury, one or the other, that kind of curtailed him. I think of John Lee for Galway. Those are a couple of players that come to mind straight away.
Yeah, Conor Ryan from Clare would be the one that probably springs to mind as well for me. He's obviously an all-star in one of his first years in Clare in 2013. Looked like he was going to be a mainstay for the next 10 years. And then, unfortunately, sickness kind of put paid to his hurling career, unfortunately. Great to see. I'm sure he gets a great buzz out of his younger brother, Dermot, playing for Clare now. And he probably lives a bit maybe vicariously through him, almost, through his experiences with the county. He'd definitely be one that would spring to mind. The late, great Adrian Cattle from Offaly would be another one. Just an absolute superstar at underage level. I think he started an All-Ireland final age. I think his inter-county championship debut for Offaly was an All-Ireland semi-final. And I think he scored 2 points from wing back. Broke his leg then, and unfortunately just was kind of never the same when he got back. Those two would definitely spring to mind. Funnily enough, like Ash Barty's is probably a lot different. It's probably nothing to do with injury. It's more to do with maybe burnout and wanting to do other things. Liam Kerms would be another one, Shane, from Offaly, who won an All-Ireland hurling title in 81. I think Jack Lynch is one. And the name escapes me, but a Dublin man, I think it was Frank Burke is his name, a Dublin man from won it in the 20s, I think. But Liam had some really bad injuries. He got an ACL injury before we knew like what to do with that and how to rehab it properly. I was actually reading, it's coming out next month, the Offaly Game of My Life book by Brian Lowry. And Liam said that when he got operated on, the doctor didn't know that he was an inter-county player and that he was an athlete. So he said after that he would have done the surgery completely differently had he known that he was an athlete who was going to be putting big pressure on. So he actually did his ACL nearly straight away again after coming back. Yeah, so he'd definitely be one that would spring to mind, but I'm sure everybody has at least one from their own county that their career was probably taken too soon from them. Or Paul Mannion and Jack McCaffrey would be two other ones that we would love to see more of. Maybe we won't see more of them with Dublin as well, but there's probably a few in every county.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go through some of the replies that we had on the Twitter account on OurGame. Conor Ryan was mentioned by Patrick Hickey. Liam Madden of Clarenbridge. Stephen O'Keefe says Kevin Keogh. Declan Hourahan says Wayne Sherlock, hands down, would have won 3 in a row if the stupid captaincy rule wasn't in place in 2006. Dara 5 says Paul Martin. Joey Boland, Chaff Fitzpatrick, John Dawson, Conor Mortimer, Colin Corkery, Paul Barden. I think Paul Barden had a long innings. Tom Devine. And then there's a ridiculous picture down the I had forgotten that was there. I spotted it yesterday. But,
Stephen O'Keefe is a very good one, Shane, as well, because if some people are try to pick holes in Waterford, potentially not having a really experienced goalkeeper would be one of those holes where if you have Stephen O'Keefe, like, even though he's retired from Intercounty, he's probably still top three,
Peak of his
top four
powers, yeah.
keeper in the country, really. You know, so that's probably something. He's definitely a player that Waterford folk would love to have on board. Anyway, some unbelievable names when you go down through them there, like Cha Fitzpatrick. Oisin McConville actually was only talking in his chat with Richie Power the other day about meeting Cha Fitzpatrick, and he couldn't get over it. I think he was an all-star midfielder at the time when he met him, and he said he was 10 stone, sopping wet, and he just couldn't get over how does this lad survive in the middle of the park. And he's just an unbelievable player. Again, achieved an awful lot, and then probably maybe went away from the scene earlier than most people would have wanted. But Wayne Sherlock as well for Cork. What a defender, cornerback, wingback. He was just a real Rolls Royce of a defender, and we just probably didn't see enough of him either.
Yeah, I mean, from a Tipperary point of view, Philip Maher, I wish he didn't suffer all those injuries because he was obviously flying it. Cha Fitzpatrick retired too early, says Joe Butler. Shane Dowling's time at Limerick cut short by injury. Shane Power says Tom Devine from Waterford definitely would have been from my own county. Brilliant option to have when we needed to go along. Absolute beast of a man and deceivingly quick. He definitely was. Other players in football, I suppose, that come to mind. Conor Shanahan from Roscommon. I think he had 6 concussions, so he had to finish up in 2018 thereabouts. Ronan Clark had to finish up. I think he was just 28. He had so many different injuries. I think an Achilles was one of them. A cruciate was another. And then Colm O'Neill had 3 cruciates. He was 29 when he had to exit the fray at the end of 2018. So these are some brilliant players that we would love to have seen a bit more of.
Oh, 100%. Funnily enough, I was actually only on to Colm O'Neill yesterday, just ahead of the Offaly Cork game, just hoping to get him to say a few words to maybe rile up our lads indirectly. But he didn't bite, but he passed me on some other contacts, thankfully. But I think Colm O'Neill's a fascinating one in the sense of that he had the 3 cruciates and he was still able to stay going as long as he did. Like, unbelievable kind of bounce back ability almost. But it's so difficult at county level as well now. You can't afford to be in any way off. So if there's an injury that is holding you back or anything like that, you'll probably get away with it at a club level, but you won't get away with a county level. And a lot of lads, after going through serious injury, be it Achilles, cruciate or whatever, just find it hard to get back to that level or find the same form maybe that they had before the injury. I was only thinking of Tom Devine, actually, looking back at the Waterford-Kilkenny game, because I think even with the green helmet or something, Mikey Kiley's almost, there's a bit of resemblance there, a real broad-shouldered kind of fella with loads of power. But those type of players are not too plentiful in counties now. That's why he probably is such a loss. Probably put him anywhere across the 6 forward positions, but particularly probably on the edge of the square. But I think it's always the ones that got away that we think of, because we love potential and we love, if you could slip him in there. Imagine how many times have you heard people say, imagine we had, like, it's a great one in GA, imagine we had X, Y, and Z. It's never that easy, but it's always something we kind of harp back to, particularly when we lose a game.
The terrible twins, Michael Meehan and Sean Armstrong, both had plenty of injuries. They looked like they were ready to take over with Galway. They were really, really good, I have to say. What about your biggest pet peeve? You wanted to talk about this. Things that drive you mad on the pitch. Again, get your comments in and let us know. But for whatever reason, you want to talk about this.
Yeah, no, again, I was just looking back at the Waterford-Kilkenny game, and who was it hit in a free? I think it was Alan Murphy hit in a free. And it just barely kind of went wide. But the keeper and the cornerback were able to shepherd it wide. And I'm just looking at it and thinking, this is county hurling. Like, the first thing you're taught are probably under 10, under 12. 2 corner forwards stand in on the end lines and be ready to bat the ball. The ball is never going to outplay. And there was nobody there to bat it out. That absolutely drives me bananas, because I think it's such a simple thing. The other one is, and I've said it several times, goalkeepers leaving their line unnecessarily, and meaning that a flick or a punch or anything just puts the ball into the net. Absolutely drives me bonkers. I know you've been involved in a bit of coaching recently. Is there anything like that where you see, I think it's the experience things or the lack of experience that would drive me mad? You're just thinking, come on, lads, I thought we were taught that when we were 10 or 12. How come we're not doing it at senior level?
Yeah, well, this bothered me when I was a player too, when teammates did it. Going for a ball with your hurley, when you can just put your hand out and catch it. And I remember doing coaching recently, and I was like, no one's here to watch you take your little fancy touches. Put your hand on the ball, make sure we have possession. give it off to someone and let's get in business. We're not here to watch you put on a clinic. So that would be the main one for me. That drives the amount of times you lose possession unnecessarily, because if you just catch it, right, the defender can come in and he has one attempt to try and dispossess you. But if you touch it and then have to catch it, number one, he can try and dispossess you when he's bringing in his hurley for the initial contact on the stick. And number two, then he has another opportunity when you're trying to catch it. So to me, it's just, it's very, very silly.
Isn't it funny though, Shane? Like, one of the biggest pet peeves, probably 5 years ago now or more, was when someone just hit a blind ball into the forwards. Those players are literally you're not allowed to do that anymore. You will not play for your team if you do that anymore. It used to be a case of a corner forward with his hands in his head, like wondering, what do I need to do? Why isn't this lad hitting me in ball? You literally will not play if you do that now. And people will come down on top of you like a ton of bricks if you just hit a blind ball into the forwards.
Yeah, Shane Powers says, must say, lads, I'd say I speak for everyone here, but it's fantastic that you look for suggestions from Patreon subscribers to make the show even more fascinating and interesting. The interaction is great. As I said, the first portion of this show is free to air. After that, patreon.com/OurGame. Probably takes about 30, 60 seconds to set it up and works out about 50 cents a podcast. Back to the topic at hand, though, Liam Linehan says, overhitting the ball into the forwards and giving it handy to the goalie drives me mad. Yeah, that's a bitter pill to swallow. In both
that just when it goes in over a forward's head. I have to say, love that as a cornerback. Just playing the corner forward and holding it off. But like, it's an absolute killer for a forward. You just say, like, generally they don't want high ball coming in, so you'd usually be spraying it a bit lower. A lower ball will rarely go like past the forward and into the keeper's hands. So yeah, but I have to say, I love that one. I love as well when a ball is coming in and just even holding the forward out to let it go wide. It's so demoralizing for the opposition team.
Yeah, it's glorious. Also, if you're hitting a ball out to someone, hurling or football, and they have the feet planted and they're allowing themselves to get lined up to get hit and probably dispossessed, you've got to be like about to receive the ball, but your feet and hips nearly half turned to go. I think that's another one. It's a lot of these mistakes that, in some cases, the difference between a lad or a girl who's been coached this underage versus not. So it's all those little things. Let's drive on to the...
quickly, Shane, in football. It drives me bonkers because it's always a free, will always be a free, it will always be pulled. When someone's going down to pick up a ball, obviously in men's football, because you don't have to do it in women's, you have to put your toe under the ball, and you can see somebody's in clear favour that they're going to get the ball, and someone else puts their toe in. Always a free, every day of the week. And it amazes me how many times it happens in games, because the referee will always blow that 100 times out of 100. And it amazes me every league game you go to that somebody does it. And it's probably just that bit of panic that you just want to get the ball or whatever, but you're just giving a handy possession to the opposition team the whole time.
Are you excited about the matches coming this weekend?
Always excited about hurling, but probably not as excited maybe this weekend, just because maybe championship is so close, but there's still going to be two intriguing games. And as I said to you in Monday's show, thank God it's Munster versus Leinster and not Leinster versus Leinster, Munster versus Munster, because they potentially could have been dead rubbers then. But I think it's going to be intriguing at the weekend, I have to say. And the four teams that are left, don't care, will want to win the league, no doubt about it. Guaranteed they will all want to win the league. Cody always wants to win titles. Cork want to right or wrong, that they haven't won this title since 98. Wexford haven't won it since 74. They have a new manager, are unbeaten. Liam Cattle's in year 3. Of course he wants silverware. He wants more silverware on his CV. So I think probably the right four teams are there, and the four teams that deserve to be there and want to be there and want to win silverware are all there fighting for it.
Do you know the last time that Wexford won the league title? Was it 73, 74 or 72, 73?
I think it was 73, 74, yeah.
Yeah. So the last time they won it, the man who was the referee was the long-time administrator for Cork, Frank Murphy.
Yeah, he refereed quite a few. I think he refereed a couple of All-Ireland finals and a couple of big marquee kind of league finals, probably club finals as well. Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it?
It really is. So, like, just to sort of touch on all the fixtures this weekend, there's semi-finals and final at different levels. So Kilkenny, Cork, Waterford, Wexford, we're going to be talking about that. We know that Down are already in the 2A final. They'll be joined by the winners of Kerry, Westmeath. There's that relegation playoff to see who'll drop down. That's between Antrim and Offaly. There's a 2B semi-final, Donegal and Sligo. In 3A, it's Armagh Roscommon relegation between Longford and Leitrim. So there's plenty of games going on, and that's before you get to the football, where we'll be joined by Oisin McConville and all the great insights that he's going to have for us. But just even to talk broadly with the highest scorers in the Allianz League so far in terms of goals, Stephen Bennett has 6. Now 4 of those were penalties, to be fair. Shane Kingston and Neil McManus have 4 each. Now McManus has a penalty in there. Obviously, he's a doubt for the weekend now. Then Rory O'Connor has 3, Shane Meehan has 3, Tony Kelly has 3, 2 penalties, and Mark Keown as well. So all 4 counties that are in the semi-finals, they're represented here.
Yeah, that's probably no coincidence. We know Waterford go for the net wherever possible. Maybe not in the last 2 games. Definitely don't seem to have been as hungry for goals in the last couple of games. Cork, I think probably since probably the start of last season, Kieran Kingston has just got like this laser focus in their head that we're going for goals. When we used to take handy points, we will try and always break the line now, make that extra pass and go for goals. And in fairness to Antrim, I know they were hit for, 7 goals last weekend, but they've hit a fair few of them throughout the league as well. And obviously Rory O'Connor and Wexford have been hungry enough for goals. Maybe something that we probably haven't seen maybe over the last couple of years, where they were happier to shoot from out the pitch. They're getting themselves in positions now, goal scoring positions, and getting their best players in possession in around the 14. So yeah, they're all seem hungry enough for the green flag. And as I said to you before, like the way to beat Limerick is probably going to be take goals. And I think that's probably gotten into the psyche of teams, and they realise that that's not just going to happen overnight. You have to keep practicing and practice. You have to change maybe your mantra, change your focus, and change your tactics a small bit as well. And the 4 teams in the semi-finals are definitely goal focused, and it's going to be interesting to see. I'd say we'll see a few high scoring games and plenty of goals in each game as well.
Yeah, and I have to say it's interesting to look at the amount of scorers that each county has had. And we're going to be talking about maybe who has the best squad. Now, Limerick have the best 15. We've seen that over the last number of seasons. That's not really up
14.
for debate. Huh?
14.
Oh, yeah, the way things are going at the moment. But we're looking at, beyond that starting team, who's got the best panel, like who's got the best reserve. So we're going to be talking about that soon. But I think in light of that, when you look at the total number of scorers per county, Waterford have had 23 different scorers during the league. Galway have had 22. They're obviously searching for players. Cork and Kilkenny have had 21 each. Tipperary have had 20. Wexford, Limerick, Laois and Antrim, 17, probably not quite as impressive. And then Clare, Offaly and Dublin, 16. So there's a sense that they're relying on a lot of the same players. If you want to watch the rest of the show, please tune in to patreon.com/OurGame. We're going to be completing the show from there. So anyone who's watching on the free version, we'll get you the next time.